everyone, today's objective is radical exponents. So we're going to start with exponents to simplify. Write the answer with positive exponents. We're going to review all the exponent rules and that you covered before. So rules of exponent, and here's the summary. First of all, 0 as an exponent. A to the 0 power equals 1, where A does not equal to 0. And we don't have 0 to the 0 power. That's indeterminate. Next one, negative exponents. Negative exponent is a to the negative n power. You flip it over. If it's on the bottom, you flip it to the top. If you have them in the parentheses, flip top and bottom. B over A over B become B over A. But notice the n stayed the same. Next one, product rule of the exponent. Product rule is when you multiply m and n just gets combined. Adding. Quotient rule for exponent. A to the m over a to the n. Think about it. This is a huge minus sign. A m minus n. Raising a power to a power, you multiply them. Raising a product to a power. Product right here to a power, both of them get the n. Next one, raising a quotient to a power. Division to the n, both of them also get the exponents. So now we're going to use all those rules on all the exponents that we're going to be talking about. Example number 1, use the rules of exponents to simplify. Write the answer with a positive exponent, assuming that all variables represent positive value. Think about the rules from before. The x to the exponent and x to the exponent, because base are the same, a to the m times a to the n. And if you look on top, a to the m plus n. Now, if you cannot remember, think about a to the third power times a to the second power. That's really a to the fifth. And if you do a to the fifth, it's 3 plus 2. A, 3 of them, and 2 of them. Going back to the exponent, that's a fraction, the rules still stay the same. So that's just x 1/5 plus 3/5. X to the 4/5. Letter B will be the same kind of idea. Difference is now we have a number in the front. For example, 2a to the second power times 4a to the 4th. Don't you just do 2 times 4? Sorry about that. That's not a good problem because you guys can't see the difference. Let's make this 3 and 5. 2 times 4 and a to the 3 plus 5, 8. Just think about what did you guys deal with when it's a whole number. So that's just another example I'm showing you. So that's going to be 2 times 4 and a to the 1/2 plus 1/3. You can totally use calculator. I have no problem showing you guys how to put this in the calculator. So put this in the calculator. You have to punch it in correctly. So let me show you how to do it by hand. Because the denominator is not the same, right here you notice one of them's 2, one of them's 3. So you got to find this common denominator. And the common denominator in this case is 6. So this guy times 3. This guy is times 2 times 2. That's going to be equal to a 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6. And the answer for that is going to be equal to 8a at the top now, 5 over 6. Letter C. Notice subtraction with a minus sign. Top minus the bottom. So the reason we are using top minus the bottom doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If it's negative, we're gonna flip it just to make sure you understand. So you have x 2 over 3 minus 3 over 4. And because of that, equal to common denominator, because it's subtraction. This is multiplied by 4. This is multiplied by 3 because denominator is 12. X 8 over 12 minus 9 over. If you worry about that's negative, don't worry. We can figure out the rules to make it change. So that become negative 1 over 12. Because of that, we don't want negative exponent. Flip it. This sign flips 1 over x to the 1 over 12 power. So I would like you guys to try letter D yourself. For letter D, negative 4 and 5 is the number. Sorry, I multiplied. Then the next thing I have is the exponent. So then the exponent is going to be collected. And because they are both numerator exponents, I added them. So that's negative 3 over 5 plus 4 over 5. When you do negative 3 over 5 plus 4 over 5, that gives you positive 1 over 5. And then negative 4 times 5, negative 20 is your answer. Negative 20, y to the 1/5. For letter E, is a power of a power. If you remember, power is m to the second power to the third power. Well, if you write it out, you actually see m to the second power 3 times. So use 2 times 3. So m is 2 times 3. That's m to the 6. That is whole number. So fraction is the same thing. So you are talking about W 3 over 4 times 2 over 1. And the reason I write it out that way is I can see what I can cancel. When you look at this problem, you can cancel 2 and the 4 and give you 2 on the bottom. So your answer is going to be W 3 over 2. Letter F is now every single term have to be distributed. Stop the video, you guys give it a try. For letter F, we have 2 to the third power. I write it out for you right here. And then we have A to the 2/3 times 3 over 1 is multiply them together. B, you have 3 over 5, which is the original exponent, times 3 over 1. And then when I multiply them together, the 3 and the 3 cancel out, so that leave me with a to the second. B 9 over 5, 3 times 3 is 9, 5 times 1 is 5. A to the second power, B 9/5 power. So we are going to take care of the top, then worry about top and bottom together. Taking care of the top is going to be the same thing we done before. Multiply the exponent, and I'm going to write it out. 3 to the third power, x 4 over 3 times 3 over 1 over x to the third power. Now, when you do that, you have 3 times 3 is 27, 3 times 3 times 3. And again, the 3 here and the 3 cancel out, so that's x to the fourth power over x to the third. Now, you should remember if I say, hey, there's 4 of them on top, 3 of them on the bottom, so it's like a 1-to-1 cancellation. The answer is going to be 27 with the x on top, because when you cancel, you have 1 left on top. Letter H is going to another rules. There's a division sign, is a minus sign. So it's going to be y 2 over 7 minus 5 over 7. And that's going to give you y to the negative 3 over 7. This negative sign, we are going to flip it, and that's going to be 1 over y to the 3 over 7 power. 2 to the third power, z to the 5/3 times 3 over 1 over z to the second. So by doing that, we are going to cancel the 3, 8z to the 5th over z to the second. Now notice the z's can still cancel out because I have 5 of them on top, 2 of them on the bottom. A, z to the third. When you have your exponents with different kind of rules, the only difference is in fraction term and fraction term instead of whole number. Going on to the second idea. Second idea tells you use rational exponents to simplify radical expressions. The way to do that is to rewrite as a radical with a smaller root index. Remember that little index number? You're going to get smaller. Assume that all variables represent non-negative value. We are going to look at A. I'm going to break everything down to the prime number. 49, you can go 7 and times 7, that's 49. 4 through 7 to the second power. Write it in fraction form. So 7 is right here. Index number goes on the bottom, 2 goes on the top. And when you cancel them, you're going to get a smaller index number, 7 and 1/2. They want you to rewrite the radical as a small root index. So to change this, that's going to be 7 with a square root 7. There's your smaller index number. Please try example letter B yourself. For example letter B, you can write your 36 into 6 square. And when you write as a 6 square, the 4 becomes the denominator, 2 goes on top. Reduce it, it will be 1 over 2 with a smaller index number. So that will be square root of 6. Please try C, D, E, F. Letter C, you understand that 4 again is the numerator. 6 is the index number. So when you write it down, you can write it as 2 over 3 because you can divide by 2 on both top and bottom. So you're going to have an index number of 3 on the bottom right here and the 2 on the outside. Now D is exactly the same as C, so we're going to skip that. And then E is a different form because you have not seen it before. I would like to go over with you. And so in this case, what we're going to do is we actually write it out. A to the 4, 6. 4 is the exponent, 6 is the index number. Then you have the b, you have the 2 is the exponent, 6 is the index. Notice everybody gets their own little fraction. Then I reduced it, so I have a to the 2/3 and b to the 1/3. Now it's very important that the denominator is the same before you can put it under the same roots. So if it's not the same, we eventually have to learn because they are the same, we can put them under the 3 and then put both of them, just have their exponent. I would like you guys to try letter F. Pause the video. Again, writing them in fractions. Here's the x 6/a, y is 2/a. Reduce it because they both have 4 as the index number, x to the 3rd power, y to the 1st power. Multiplying and dividing radical expression with different roots. Multiply or divide radical expression with different roots. So 1, change from radical to exponential. That means change your little radicand to exponent form. Multiply or divide using the appropriate rules of exponents. Write the results in step 2 in a radical form. It's a multiplication in the middle, going to multiply. Now, the first rule says change the radical to exponential form. So we're going to do that. To write that out, you're going to have x to the 1/2, because remember, if I don't have any number here, is 2 times x is 2/3. Now, because it's times, you know you have to add your exponents. You can add them by changing them into correct fraction and add them. So right here, you're going to have a common denominator. Get to the 6 as a denominator. X 3/6 plus 4/6. And that is going to give you x equal to 7/6. And because they are 7/6, turn it back into number 3. Write the result in step 2 in radical forms. In radical form, 6 is the index number, x to the 7th power. Now, just a quick reminder, you can put it outside in the parentheses or inside. Now, because I'm changing it and I don't want to keep drawing parentheses, I am going to just write it a little bit longer line and have x to the 7th. And instead have to draw another parenthesis. Please try problem B, C, D. So for example B, I started with that problem in radical form, change it into exponential form. One of them is 2/3, one of them is 1/4. Because they are right next to each other and multiplying, so I know I need to add my exponents. Common denominator, 8/12 plus 3/12, and therefore it's 11/12. And to rewrite my answer back into radical form, 12 is the index number, 11 is going to be the exponent. Now, out of not have to write so many parentheses, I just put the 11 underneath now. Is when I work on the problems, I will change it into the other way. Just a quick reminder to bring it down to smaller number before I multiply the exponent. But in this case, since we're just rewriting it, exponents right at the letter by inside of a 12th root. That way I don't have to make another parenthesis or anything and get confused. C says division sign. Now, because it's a division sign, I know once I write it, I told you guys to pretend this is a big, huge minus sign. And because that, I actually have x and 3/4 and x is 1/3. We subtract. And because we subtract, we still have to have common denominator, and that is 9/12 minus 4/12, 5/12. And the answer is going to be radical is 12, 12th root, index number, and then x to the 5th. Next one, a to the 3/4, a to the 2/3 minus sign. So therefore, I have a subtraction sign. And common denominator, 9 minus 8 is 1. To write it in radical form, index number is 12. And that is example. Letter E is very different from the previous 4 questions. I want you guys to realize that look at the base is not the same. 3 right here and the 2 right here is not the same. Not the exponent, but the base is not the same. There's a different way of handling those kind of type of problem. When the base is not the same, we are looking at exponent to have common denominator. So to have exponents common denominator, multiply this guy by 3 and this guy by 3 and this guy by 2 because common denominator is 6. So now how we going to write it is 3 to the 3/6 times 2 to the 2/6. Now, because the denominator is now the same, we are going to take out the root of 6. So my index number is going to be 6 for both of them because both are denominator, and 3 to the 3rd power times 2 to the 2nd power. It comes from the numbers on top, 3 to the 3rd power, 2 to the 2nd power. Those are matching for here, and the 6 is going on the outside. So I hope that makes a little bit better with numbers. And now punch in the calculator. The one very important thing is when you punch in the calculator, you need to make sure you do the order of operation. 3 to the third power, 27 times 2 to the second power. 3 to the third power is 27. 2 to the second power is 4. And when you finish working out the numbers by punching the calculator, that's 6 root of 108. So stop the video, try the next problem. Letter F, the answer is 4th root of 50. If you look at the steps, you have the fractions, exponents, finding the common denominator right here. And then take out the 4th root because denominator is the same. I write down the exponent inside the roots. 5 to the second power is 25 and 2 times 25 is 50. One more idea. Next idea is by writing radical expressions using rational exponents, we can also find the root of a root. So there's 2 roots now. Write the following as a single radical. Example A, change that into fractions. So you know the inside one, x to the half power. That's the inside part right here. Then you add another one and you're gonna do the 1/3 exponent. So that will be writing at 2 exponents. The first one is the purple one. The second one, the ones on the outside, and that is where the 3rd root come from. If you recognize that is a power of a power, you multiplying. So for example, if you have x to the second power to the 3rd power, you will actually just say 2 to the x to the second power 3 times. So actually it's x to 6, and that's really same thing is x to the second power times the 3. So it's 2 times 3 is 6. So I'm going to do the same thing. So that's x 1/2 times 1/3. X equal 1/6. And now we are going to turn into a single radical. That's what the requirement is. So that's 6 root. So please pause the video, try letter B. Letter B, you have y to the 1/3, then to the 1/4. Multiply the exponent, it's going to give you 1/12. No common denominator. So therefore, it's going to be 12th root, the index root on the outside, and just 1. So following the same idea, we are going to do the same thing, C and D. So that's 5 to the 1/3 times 3 to the 1/2. Common denominator again, that's going to be this one times 2 and this one times 3. And that's going to give me 6 root 5, 2/6 times 3, 3/6. And your root will be 6 on the outside, 5 to the second power times 3 to the 3rd power. And please use your calculator, figure out the answer. So the answer for letter C is going to be 6th root of 675. For example, letter D, you have to change your exponents 1/5, and right here is 2/3, and then common denominator is 15. That's 3/15 and 10/15. 15 comes outside, and then 7 to the 3rd power, 4 to the 10th power. When you punch in order of operation, 7 to the 3rd power is 343, and 4 to the 10th power, I cannot remember. But when you multiply those two together, this is the answer I got. I'm sorry, that concludes today's notes. Thank you so much for watching.